Is Meg McClain to break down what happened to her. Meg, good to have you here with us.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So, wow, you're up on Drudge Report right now. That's very exciting. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, will see what happened to you. Tell folks about what happened.
Well, I was down here in Miami visiting some other wonderful activists from LibertyOnTour.com, and I went to go home, and, you know, they just chose me, of course, randomly out of 7 people who I was probably the least shady looking of all of them, to go through the body scanner. And, you know, instantly I just said, you know, I'm not doing that. I don't have any comfort stepping in that thing. So they immediately just started screaming opt out. And that took me off guard. It kind of frightened me that, you know, everybody in the entire airport was staring at me at that point. So they walked me over to this area, and before they even started, because, like, I've read into these procedures, and I knew I wouldn't be comfortable with somebody touching me in that way. So I just said, you know, before this happens, I have a few questions. And that alone just sent them into this huge frenzy and ended up with about 12 police officers surrounding me and 7 TSA agents. And it was just the most humiliating thing I've ever been through. And when, you know, nobody would answer my questions, and so I wouldn't consent to the pat down until my questions were answered, they finally just escorted me out of the airport.
Now, it's described as you being handcuffed and yelled at. What happened with that?
Well, at one point, after the first TSA lady wouldn't answer my questions and she was just being very rude, I asked to talk to her supervisor. Her supervisor came over. I got maybe 30 seconds into the conversation, and she ran off and got the cops, and it was at that point that, you know, as a liberty activist, I understand the power of a camera, and so I reached for my bag to get my camera out to, you know, at least protect myself with that. And everybody started screaming, you know, don't touch your bags. And so they handcuffed me and told me to sit in the chair so that I wouldn't touch my stuff, I guess. I don't know. And then they, you know, proceeded to give me about a 30-minute, very loud lecture in front of everybody in the airport about terrorism. And I could not believe what was going on. And they had me literally right outside of the exit for the normal metal detectors. So everyone who went through security was staring straight at me, being yelled at this point. I'm sobbing. I can't wipe my face because my hands are behind my back. And so I just look a mess, and everybody has to watch me do this. And it was so humiliating. And it was obviously just, you know, a tactic to get people to be scared. This is what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, let me tell you a story. We confirmed this in Kansas City, in Houston, Texas. They have the 4-H club, and they have the county fairs, and it also happened in Colorado. They were trying to force animal ID, premises ID, and it wasn't a law 5 years ago. The feds would just send you forms, waiving your rights to the government, allowing inspections of your farm. But to intimidate people, to get them to accept this, they would say, oh, you've got to sign up for animal ID, premises ID with the feds if you want to show a cow or a horse, a pig, a goat at the county fair. And they would always pick a nice little young lady. They would give her the grand prize, and then on stage, police would come and handcuff them and announce they did not sign an animal ID, premises ID, or in some cases they wouldn't handcuff them, and bring them crying away to scare everyone to then go sign animal ID, premises ID. So this is all, you know, screaming opt out, lifting women's dresses up in front of everybody, handcuffing people, screaming at them, groping people. This is all an act to dominate, folks. Do you agree with that analysis?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I could tell that, you know, I was probably the least threatening person in that entire airport. I'm, you know, 110 pounds on a good day, and I had nothing threatening on me.
I don't know. I'm looking at a photo of you. You look pretty Al-Qaeda-ish right now.
Yeah, and because they sat me in front of that space, like, nobody else had to go through the body scanner or the enhanced pat down because I was taking up the area. So, you know, I was the only person of interest in that area, and I didn't understand it at all. I mean, I don't come off threatening. I don't say things that are threatening. I just had questions, and they cannot accept questions.
So how did this end?
It ended with the 12 police officers that they called surrounding me and then walking me out the airport with the TSA carrying my stuff, including my shoes and my jacket. So I had walk out of the airport barefoot, no jacket, in freezing cold, just
so they took your clothes too.
But they took, yeah. Thing I had, all I was wearing was a T-shirt and pants. That's it.
And I mean, were you asking, may I please have my stuff, or what did they tell you?
Well, when the cops originally showed up and they wouldn't answer my questions either, my stuff away from the entire security area and were searching it despite me yelling, like, I don't consent to searches. And then I didn't see it again until I got outside. They had it outside waiting for me on the curb, which it was unattended, so I was actually really surprised that it was still there.
Well, you know what they've done, starting out in New York and then Boston and Houston and L.A., going back 5 or 6 years, they now have random checkpoints searching citizens just like in the airport. So things they could never do before for this non-existent, once-in-a-blue-moon terrorism situation. They're telling us that this is for our own good. This is really just setting the precedent to live in a system far more oppressive than 1984.
Oh, yeah. I've never felt so humiliated in my life, and I was so surprised that, anybody who could be the one to humiliate me, it was the U.S. government. That just floors me.
What do you think of the TSA coming out after they announce that they do touch your genitals and breast, of other women and men, that now they're saying, oh, no, we don't grope or squeeze? I mean, they're caught red-handed lying. I mean, they lied about saving the naked body scan images. They lied about them having radiation. I mean, they just lie.
That's, I guess, just what they're trained to do is lie, because you can't tell everybody what you're going to do and have them just blindly accept it. Nobody's going to accept it if they say what they want to do, so they have to lie.
I've also seen media reports and talked to eyewitnesses over the years, other talk show hosts, that it's particularly attractive women that they really go wild over.
Yeah, I actually spoke to my mother shortly after this whole incident happened because, obviously I was just stuck in Florida at this point, and so I was just calling Mom to tell her what happened, and she said that she flies a lot, and she's not an unattractive woman, and she has very, very large breasts, and she said every time she goes through, she always gets picked. And even when she flies with my dad, which my dad is kind of a shadier-looking guy, my mom is not shady-looking in any way, shape, or form, but she's always the one picked. And it's just because, we're women, and people get to touch us then, and nobody wants that. I don't know anybody who feels safer as a result of that. I don't.
Well, there's a thuggish type of mentality that enjoys forcing something on a woman. And I'm sure you've seen the reports of them planting drugs on people and then demanding sexual favors, or how many TSA workers have been caught being pedophiles. I mean, this is the job to get if you're a control freak scumbag.
Oh, yeah. And it's the type that is attracted to that job as well. I mean, nobody who values people or the human race in general would ever be attracted to a job like that. It's just the horrible people who have no moral judgment on their own and are willing to blindly follow orders, no matter how far they take it. And I kept asking them, what's your line in the sand? At what point do they give you an order that you say, no, that goes too far? And they just said, we're just following orders. It's all for the greater good. And I think there's no good being gained here.
I am just following orders for the homeland. I mean, look at the nomenclature. The homeland, the troops, the face-scanning cameras. Papers, please. It's not papers, please. It's shouting at people and groping them. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, I've never had so many grown men with guns screaming at me for no reason. It was so frightening. And
well, Meg, that's what this is all about. It's about making us the terrorist and training us that we're bad and that we're going to be shouted at by our government protectors. And notice, this is all happening right as the economy implodes, right as the global government's being announced, right as the police state's unfolding. It's all been timed perfectly, Meg.
Yeah.
What do you think of the backlash to this? And I don't know if you're tracking it, but, I mean, the Internet, mainstream media is on fire with this, and the establishment media is trying to promote it like it's a good thing, but people aren't listening to them anymore.
Yeah, and, I've been really immersed in the whole TSA issues for a while. I mean, I did a video long ago with Sam Dawson of Obscure Truth, and, he was harassed throughout that entire thing just for having a video camera, and so it's something that I followed closely. And it's very dear to my heart because I feel so bad for especially, like, sex crime victims. I mean, I don't even know what they go through when they have to deal with that. It's something that my heart breaks for them. And to see, like, people putting their children through that's like watching somebody beat a child on the side of the road. I can't just keep my mouth shut about it. There's nothing more I can do other than speak up.
Well, that's wonderful, Meg. I mean, this is human dehumanization, degradation. The airports are giant re-education centers where we are indoctrinated in the religion of tyranny and abuse.
Yeah, and I can only hope that, you know, the people who had to walk around me during that entire hour at least saw what I was dealing with and heard what I was saying, because everything I said, I was obviously not a threat to them, and it was all just about, you know, making me feel as stupid and, you know, as bad as possible, even though I hadn't done anything, and I wasn't going to accept that.
Well, Meg,
and so I hope that the people who saw that took that with them.
Absolutely. Look, when we resist, we educate others, and they want to intimidate people and make it very uncomfortable, so you don't resist, because imagine what's coming after this if we put up with this.
Yeah, I can only imagine, and I really don't want it to get to that point. And I always tell them, like, I'm doing this not just for me and for my loved ones, but they're the face of whatever, you know, crap the government throws down on the people. And so the people, when they're pushed too far, they're going to snap, and they're going to attack these people who are the face of the tyranny, not the actual tyranny itself. And so I'm trying to help them as well, because they're on the losing side of a war, and I don't want anybody to get hurt in this. I just want them all to realize what they're doing and step away. They're
on a losing side of a war. You can feel the momentum towards liberty in your gut, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, I packed up and moved away from... I love my grandpa more than anything in the world, but I had to move to New Hampshire because, you know, it's a place where we're actually doing things to move it to that point. And we've had so many successes. And, you know, even though it was heartbreaking to give up living with my grandfather, I had to do it.
How bad was the police state in the previous state?
In Oregon?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, in Oregon.
It wasn't horrible, but at the same time, like, it is a very liberal community, and so they like their police. And I was never really an activist there. It's a little bit more difficult when there aren't very many like-minded people around. And so
I understand. You wanted to get out of the zombie-like environment.
Yeah, it's just everybody sort of takes government as a given there, and, you know, it's just one of those necessary evils of life, and any evil doesn't have to be necessary. There's no such thing as a necessary evil.
Meg, I want to talk about your ideas to get on the offensive and to remove these machines and the groping that's going on and the abusive behavior. But then we have to talk in that solution about dealing with the stage terror. And this is something that a lot of libertarians and people don't want to touch. Though Noam Chomsky, a liberal, he's now come out and said bin Laden had nothing to do with 9/11.